Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Thursday morning Parsha class here at Sinai Temple in Los Angeles. It's hard to believe that we're already in the third Parsha of the book of Breshit, the book of Genesis. The third Parsha is Lech Lecha. It means go, but really Lech Lecha means go to yourself. And so this Parsha is all about journeys, but it's more than a cliche about journeys. And so we're going to look at three different commentaries today about what the rabbis say journeys are all about, and we're going to split it into two, into physical and spiritual journeys, because that is what Avram, he was not Abraham yet, he was Abram, did when God says, Vayomer Adonai el Avram lech lecha. God said to Avram, go to yourself, me artzecha, from your land, umi moladetecha, from the place you were born, umi beit avicha, from the house of your father, el aretz asher ereka, to the land that I will show you. This proof text is often used by Christians as they tell Jews that Israel is the Jewish homeland, but we're not going to focus on that. Instead, we're going to focus on Avram's journey himself. And so we're going to look at a couple of different commentaries. I have it in front of me. The first is the quintessential commentary of the Torah, and it's Rashi. Lech lecha, he says, is get out of here. Literally, though, go for yourself. What does it mean, go for yourself? Rashi says, for your own benefit, for your own good. Often we do things for others, but in this case, Rashi says, do it for yourself. Now, this doesn't necessarily seem like a Jewish answer, but we also know in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, that we say, Im ein ani mili. If I'm not for myself, then who am I for? Meaning to help yourself, that's the only way that you can help others. It's also the famous aspect of the breathing mask on the airplane. Please put on the breathing mask on yourself before you put it on the children, so that when you help yourself, only then you can help others. Rashi continues, there I will make of you a great nation, while here you will not merit the privilege of having children. That comes from Masechet Rosh Hashanah in the Talmud, right? God says, look, Abraham, you can stay, but it's not going to be great for you here. Instead, go, do something better, and then maybe come back and help out there. Furthermore, I shall make known your character throughout the world. My medieval Jewish history professor once said about Muhammad as Islam was being founded, he couldn't be a hero in his hometown. He had to go somewhere else, find his own identity, and only then come back and be the person that he became. So that's number one. Number two, we're going to go to a commentary called Hakatav v'Hakabbalah. It literally means the written and the received. And this is what Hakatav v'Hakabbalah says about Lech Lecha. From your land, from your birthplace, from your father's house. What does this mean? A very different interpretation than Rashi. Well, listen closely. He says, I quote, every going, movement, and distancing from that which one departs from to that which one goes toward, right? Everything that we do is a journey. Whether I walk from here to the door in my office, whether I walk from my home to the synagogue, whether I get on an airplane, whether I get in the car, whether I walk down the hall, every one of those is a journey. It's a distance from one place to another. Whether physical movement from one place to another, such as going to the land of Canaan, or spiritual movement, meaning what does spiritual movement mean? He says, the distancing of thought from one occupation to engagement and contemplation of thoughts towards what lies ahead or above, right? Spiritual movement is thinking just about the daily grind, moving towards contemplation of something greater than us. Such as in the book of Zechariah, I will give you those who walk among those who stand. He says these types of distancing are opposite in their nature. Let me repeat that. The way that we do physical distance movement is different than the way that we do spiritual movement. He continues. Physical distance proceeds from what is before it to what comes after. Meaning I'm here, I'm there. It proceeds from what's here and then goes after. For example, he says, if one sets out on a journey, one first distances oneself from one's household members with whom one lived in the same house and room, and the distancing gradually increases to separate also from one's family members who live in one city or nearby, until finally one leaves one's entire land and goes to another land. Think about the college process, right? When you leave home for college, you are physically distancing yourself from family. You are leaving your room. You're leaving your house. If you go away, you're leaving your city. If you go abroad, then you're leaving your country. However, the Katav Kabbalah says, mental thought distancing proceeds the other way, from back to front, from the distance to what is closer to oneself. For one who dwells in another country, while one's home and family still hovers before one's eyes and thoughts, the matter of one's country no longer comes to mind, and as many days pass, even one's family becomes strangers. Yet one's household members still find dwelling in one's thoughts. Right? When you're physical distancing a journey, you're going away. But when you're on a spiritual journey, you're coming from afar and you're actually trying to come closer. He says, now, since here the text first mentions the distancing of the land, right? Vayomer Adonai el Avram, lech lecha me'artzecha. First it says, leave your land. Second, it says, leave your birthplace. And only last does it say house. What does it teach us? It's not speaking of the physical distancing. For if so, it would say, leave your house, leave the place of your birth, and then leave your land. And indeed, he was already distant from his land and had come to Haran, as Rashi told us. Rather, the Torah says this is not a physical aspect. This is a spiritual, mental distancing. And what is the intention of the statement? Hakatav HaKabbalah says, it's the abandonment of contemplating the conduct of evil people of his land and the removal of memory of the disgraceful ways of his family. If you remember the famous Midrash of Avram and his father Terach, that he was an idol worshiper, and Avram comes and smashes the idols and becomes the first monotheist, that even the matter of his father's house should be distant from him, so as not to bring them to his mind. 4. In forgetting, which is mental distancing, the people precede the house. So we see here a moment of spiritual versus physical distancing. And so we might say, yes, as we go on our journeys, we have a physical journey, but we also have a spiritual journey. But no, the rabbis say, the Hakatav HaKabbalah says they're actually opposite directions. Sometimes when you go on a physical journey, the spiritual journey is going the other way. The question that I ask is, can they be going together? As you move forward, can you also be spiritually moving together? And that is a question I will address this coming Shabbat in the sermon. I want to look at two other commentaries. The first is called the Balaturim. Just find here, give me one moment. The Kitzur Balaturim, 14th century. Actually, I'm sorry. We're actually going to go to Rabbeinu Bachya, which, sorry about that. Give me one moment here. Technical difficulties. There we go. 14th century. We read in the book of Proverbs, Holech et chachamim yechachem v'ro'eh kesilim yarua. One who walks with scholars will become wise. One who keeps company with fools will come to grief. This is the commentary on Lech Lecha. Why walking? Because Lech Lecha means to walk. Holech. Halacha, Jewish law, means also to walk. Halacha is not about being stagnant, but halacha is about the continuous spiritual journey that we are on. This is what the Rabbeinu Bachya says. King Solomon warns in the book of Proverbs to try and move within circles of scholars, and at the same time try to avoid keeping company, he says, with fools. The reason he uses the expression holech, meaning to walk, is that a person should always walk behind the scholars, become familiar with them, and consider himself as an adjunct to them. Don't be the professor themselves, but be an adjunct, be right by their side. One should make of the scholars leaders for his head. Anyone who practices this virtue cannot fail to become wise himself. So this is a lesson in wisdom, how to become wise yourself. Follow, learn, be part of the conversation. On the other hand, he says, anybody who habitually mingles with fools will wind up causing harm to his own head, i.e., he will become broken. Rabbeinu Bachya continues, basically, this verse in Proverbs describes the damage which results from keeping company with fools and the advantage which accrues to a person from the company of scholars. He says it is a fact that somebody who mingles with scholars will benefit by such an association. The scholar will not suffer by it at all. This is the reason the Torah says the Torah has been compared by King David to a light, a candle, seeing that an unlimited number of people can get light from this candle without the light of the candle becoming dim. Think about that for a second, right? One candle, you can only have a certain amount of people. But the Torah is a light that never diminishes, but rather the more people that go around that Torah, the brighter it can become. This is the meaning in Tehillim, the book of Psalms, Ner leragli devarecha l'nitivati. Your word is a lamp at my feet, a light for my path. He continues, our sages in Yalkut Shimoni, which is a book of Midrashim, says that the matter may be compared to somebody who enters a perfume store. What happens when you enter a perfume fragrance store? Your clothing absorbs some of the fragrances in the store, although we did not purchase any of the products that are for sale there, right? Just by walking into the perfume department, you absorb it even though you weren't pushing the button to do the samples. Similarly, the mere fact that one is in the presence of scholars results in something rubbing off on those who make a point of being in such company. Just being there in scholars, in Torah, in Judaism, in Zionism, in Israel, just being part of the conversation rubs off. Solomon describes that the opposite is true when one frequents the haunts of fools. Not only is their presence not beneficial, but it is even harmful to those who are not of their ilk. How does this relate to Lech Lecha? We have to ask that question. What journeys are we on? What journeys do we want to be on? When Avram and Lot separate in this Parsha, Avram says, whatever way you go, I'll go the other way. You go north, I go south. You go east, I go west. Avram goes to Haran, and where does Lot go? Lot ends up in Sodom and Gomorrah, where he is surrounded by evil, and in fact, it's Avram's mitzvah of hospitality, of welcoming people back, that he begins to debate God, that says, even in evil city, I pray, God, if you find eventually 10 righteous people, please don't destroy it, right? And so Avram's journey began in a very difficult place. He was surrounded by idolatry. But Vayomer Adonai el Avram, lech lecha me'artzecha, go from your land, from the place you were born, from your parents' house, to the land that I will show you. That order is so important in the physical order and in the spiritual order, right? What he's saying is, as you're going on this physical journey, remember the spiritual journey that you want to be on as well. Because ultimately, it is that spiritual journey that will lead us to be next to Chachamim, wise people, to be in a Kehillah Kedosha, to be in a place of holiness and sacredness where we can make a difference in what this world can look like tomorrow. We wish everybody a good week. We hope to see you on Shabbat. Just a little public service announcement. There are many, many events coming up. On Sunday, we are going to be screening the HBO miniseries A Day in October with the executive producer and the head of Fox Entertainment Studios, Fernando Shev, a member of this wonderful Sinai community. It is about 7 different episodes about October 7th. A Nova survivor, Aya Meidan, will be with us, as well as the actress that plays Aya in the miniseries, as well as 3 of the producers. Make sure you join us here at Sinai Temple. You can go on the website to RSVP. Many, many events coming up here at Sinai Temple. Make sure you go on that website. Join us for this amazing, amazing community of spiritual Judaism, of